Hi, my name is Tammy Greenlee, and this is my special education timeline. In 1774, Jean Itard was the first deaf and mute educator. I would have thought that someone who was disabled becoming an educator would have spurred people on to realize that people with special needs can be educated, but apparently it did not. Because in the 1800s, before the 1800s, people with disabilities had no right to an education. And during this time, people were kept at home or sent to institutions to hide them from society. So people like Jean Itard were very, very unusual because most of the time, if you had special needs, you just simply were not educated and you were hidden away. In 1817, the first special education school was started and many more followed. However, these schools served to take the disabled out of society, so they really made segregation worse. Basically, they were institutions in themselves, institutions that offered some education. In 1848, the government funded an experimental school for the disabled. This school was called the Experimental School for the Teaching and Training of Idiotic Children. It was located in Boston. And I can't even imagine using the word idiotic today. In 1866, Edwin Sequin introduced pedagogical methods for the disabled. His methods were supposed to help them to function acceptably in society. It focused on getting them socially and functionally ready to be a part of society. So people started to think, because of his methods, that possibly people with disabilities could be educated, at least a part of the population thought that. However, in the late 1800s, people went backwards in their views and lost faith in Sequin's ability to educate the disabled. So the Americans came up with sterilization and segregation as answers to people with disabilities. This created more institutionalization, as you can imagine. Things were not good for people with disabilities. In the mid-1900s, it was noted that educating kids with disabilities alongside kids without them had a positive impact on education as a whole. Even though they knew this, even though they saw the research, it still took a long time for them to do anything about it, for us to do anything about it. During the 1960s, the Civil Rights Movement prompted the Disability Rights Movement. Along with that came FAPE, or Free Appropriate Public Education. So all people had the right to an education. In 1975, the IDEA was passed. This is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and this is when the IEP got started. The IDEA was reauthorized in 1997 and 2004. Both times it created more and more resources for special education. In 2001, the No Child Left Behind Act was passed. This basically reauthorized the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. So we're getting closer and closer to where we should be. In 2019, we are closer than ever to leaving no child left behind when it comes to education. Both the disabled and non-disabled have the same rights to a free public education. And that is all I have for you. Thank you. Hope you have a great day.